guys, welcome to our last session, session 5. And in today's session, we are going to remove the masking. We're going to soften the details, refine the whiskers. We're going to use some gouache to add some fur details, and I'm going to sign the painting and finish it up. So without further ado, let's get started. I might do a little bit of adding some gouache. Now this is graphic white. They don't make this anymore apparently, but gouache is almost the exact same thing. So it doesn't have to be the same exact thing. Now this is one thing you don't want to get in your palette. It's very chalky, and so is gouache. So you don't want to mix the two. So we'll keep those separate. So I'm just gonna do the highlights of what I need to do, which is soften some edges just a little. I'm going to bring this little stripe back into compliance here with scrubbing. And Lamp Black scrubs very well, so it will let me scrub. You just scrub and blot. And I want to bring the white back in this little spot right there. And in here, I want to get this back. And I got a little bit of something there, so I'm going to blot that. I might need to go back in and darken that eyeliner now. That's okay though. This is yet another reason why you want to use Arches cold press 140 pound or 300 pound. I use 140 because you can scrub. You're not going to be able to scrub cheaper papers. You're not going to be able to do this step. You're not going to be able to get these dark darks, these medium mediums, and these light lights. It'll all look a lot flatter on cheap paper. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about purchasing your paper. That's one thing that it's hard to scrimp on, unfortunately. Get a few of these softer in here, but I do like the hard edge I got on a lot of it. Now I need to remove my masking to really be able to scrub out some of this stuff, but I am going to get the paint off the top of some of this masking because it'll make it easier to remove. I've found that on really tiny little lines of masking, if you have paint on top of it, when you go to remove it, it won't scrub off. So I'm going to try to kind of rub the paint delicately off just the masking in these areas so that when I go to scrub it off, it'll work with me a little bit better. I also, in the reference, this part of his forehead's a little bit rounded. So, hey, this is a tutorial. I do want to show you guys how to quote unquote fix things. So let me show you how you could do that here. I've got a lot of water in my brush. I'm going to round this a little bit more. And it does give a different effect than what I had before, but that's okay. If you want to go back in and put in a little bit of detail, you can. Now I'm just going to scrub this orange part kind of into that, just to kind of make it all merge together a little bit better. Just kind of scrub it all together. And I can even go in with some gouache in this area. That'll be pretty there. This ear is not important. I'm going to scrub a lot of this. I don't want it so white. And when I take the masking off, there will be plenty of little white sparkles there. But I want to use a bigger, softer scrubber. So I'm going to use, this is a makeup brush. It's just something I have on hand. So I'm just going to lighten in here a little bit, just to give it some interest. All right, that's looking good. Now we can let it dry. Next, I'll take off the masking. Let's see if this is at a nice consistency here. And I'm going to use some gouache and just put some this will dry a lot lighter. So it's a great way. I have a big old dot of water there. I don't know what that's from, but I'm just gonna add a little bit of that fur texture. I'm in love with these long hairs that he has. This little texture on his chin too. I almost need a finer brush though. I don't want to get that in my water. I don't want to get chalk in my water, so I'm going to use a different brush. I'm going to use my Script Silver Black Velvet size 1 to put in some little hairs. And I'll do this again once I get the masking off. Get a little bit more moisture in my brush. Let that dry, and then we'll take the masking off and do the final little details. And I'm going to take the masking off, and look how stark some of my masking marks are. This is why I emphasize, make sure you get your masking lines perfect, because look here how blotchy they look. Now we can fix that, but it would be a lot easier if they weren't blotchy looking. So these lines are going to need a lot of work right in here, because those masking lines got really thick, and sometimes it's hard to tell. So I'm going to go in with some ultramarine blue, tea consistency, and just paint delicately over them for now, and thin them down. I want to carefully paint between the whiskers. I'm just going to paint with tea consistency over the edges of parts of these little masked out furs down in here. They do add a nice texture. Hey!
Doing good.
You're doing good.
Doing happy.
You're doing happy. Now I'm free to go in some of these fur areas. Put in some places of interest. Yeah? Okay. So I pushed these longer hairs that I had masked out back behind these whiskers, and I had to paint carefully around some of the whiskers, so that's okay though. I'm going to do the same here. Refine some of these by just painting along their edges. You don't want to do too much painting negatively around these whiskers because it'll start to look a little stilted. But I'm just refining a little bit where the background meets his mouth. And I also want to refine this by painting into these whiskers a bit. Love this little line there. All right, I'm gonna let that dry and then we can do the final little scrubbing. Actually, I didn't do this ear over here. This could use some refining here. All right, let's do the final. Hopefully this will be the final little bits of detail here. I'm gonna scrub the ends of my maskings and soften those. You always want to soften the very ends of your whiskers. Unless you really got them very refined, but usually that's impossible to get them perfect. You just want to scrub the ends of those masking marks to blend them in, soften them. Doesn't take much, just a touch. And then this whisker needs to be softened on that end. It didn't take much. Just a few little wipes. That's all you need. And these need to be softened quite a bit. So I'm just going to scrub. This is a Royal & Langnickel size 2 stiff scrubber, by the way. And these need to be softened too. Not much. I'm just nitpicking now. Y'all don't have to do all this nitpicking. Something that I would love to do is get this whisker here with some gouache. I don't know if I can do it. I do not have very steady hands when it comes to this kind of thing. But the good thing is if I get it on there and I don't like it, I can take it right back off. Gouache is very forgiving that way. If you don't like it, you can just wash it back off. So I'm gonna get a lot of gouache on my brush and then kind of soak out the tip so I can get that tip nice and sharp. Let's do a little practice over here. Okay. And I want mine to have more than one because I think it needs more than one. So there, that's perfect. And this second little tiny thin line is dotted, and as it dries you probably aren't even going to be able to see that. So I'm just going to add some texture. Final textures here. I might refine this eye a little bit more. Silver black velvet size 8 round. Get a bunch of lamp black on it. Get a good point going by rolling it on my palette. And I'm gonna put a little bit of a break in this white spot going across his eye, to get that glint a little bit more realistic. Put that in. I don't think I've ever done this, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to try signing this with the gouache over here. So I'm going to use this script brush, Royal and Langnickel. It's 20/0. Let's see if I can make this work. I'm going to get it all in my brush like that, roll it around, and hold my breath and sign over here. Okay, that came out fine. All right, there's what we have. I'm really quite happy with that. I love the eye. I see something that I could just push a little bit more, which is get a few more medium greens in here.
There's a statue.
And some blues up in here, I think would really add some drama. It will have a little bit more variety of values in the eye. That's even better, right? I think that eye is more interesting now, just a little bit. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this tiger adventure. At least it's a tiger watercolor adventure, right? And now we have to figure out what our next project is. And I want to finish some of the projects that I already started, and I'm horrible at that, starting projects and then not finishing them. But I have almost 70 of you guys now, so that's so exciting. But that also makes me realize I need to finish what I start with you guys. So I need to finish the berries, I need to finish the wedding portrait, and I also need to finish another tutorial that I did forever ago, and one of my students reminded me that they want to do that one, so I do need to finish that one. It's the 3 cats cuddling together. So I will get those finished. I'm sure I'll have some surprises for you guys too, and we will keep on going with our little watercolor adventure together. And I'm really having a lot of fun with this, you guys, and I hope you are too. Oh, one more thing, I have something else coming. I just got a new commission of an orange marmalade cat. The customer agreed to allow me to make a tutorial out of it, and it has really good eyes, so that is definitely on the horizon because I'll have to get that done. So that's coming up too, so stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, you guys.